What force could make 20,000 people abandon everything they'd built over centuries and vanish into the desert? The Ancestral Puebloans created some of North America's most advanced cities, then suddenly disappeared around 1300 CE, leaving behind ghost towns carved into cliffsides and one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. The Ancestral Puebloans weren't primitive cave dwellers. They were master engineers who dominated the American Southwest for over 700 years. Between AD 900 and 1150, Chaco Canyon was a major cultural center for the Ancestral Puebloans. Chacoans quarried sandstone blocks and hauled timber from great distances, assembling 15 major complexes that remained the largest buildings ever built in North America until the 19th century. Mesa Verde's Cliff Palace contained 150 rooms and could house hundreds of people, all built into natural alcoves hundreds of feet above canyon floors. But their true genius lay in their infrastructure. Scientists continue to puzzle over the extensive, carefully engineered road system that Ancestral Puebloans built 10 centuries ago in the San Juan Basin of the Colorado Plateau. These 30-foot wide highways ran in perfectly straight lines for over 400 miles, connecting dozens of communities across harsh desert terrain. Their astronomical knowledge rivaled ancient Egypt's. Many Chacoan buildings may have been aligned to capture the solar and lunar cycles, requiring generations of astronomical observations and centuries of skillfully coordinated construction. The sun dagger at Fajada Butte marked solstices and equinoxes with pinpoint accuracy, while entire structures were positioned to frame specific celestial events. Ancestral Puebloans made turquoise jewelry, pottery, and fabrics, trading them with neighboring and distant communities for a wide variety of goods, including exotic items such as seashells, copper bells, parrots, and macaws. They imported tropical bird feathers from Mexico, shells from California, and obsidian from distant volcanoes, while maintaining complex agricultural systems that fed tens of thousands in one of North America's most challenging environments. Around 1130 CE, environmental disaster struck the Southwest with devastating force. Climate change is thought to have led to the immigration of Chacoans and the eventual abandonment of the canyon, beginning with a 50-year drought commencing in 1130. But this wasn't just drought, it was a megadrought that fundamentally altered their world. Tree ring data, dendrochronology from the region, indicates a period of significant aridity during the late 13th century, which would have made farming unsustainable. The Great Drought of 1276 to 1299 was particularly catastrophic. Archaeological evidence shows that as crops failed year after year, people began consuming desperate starvation foods. But environmental stress alone doesn't explain the violence that followed. Between 600 and 1000, the Mesa Verde region was relatively peaceful, but rates of violence rose in the mid-1000 and spiked again in the late 1200s, right before the ancient Pueblo left. The evidence is chilling. Excavators found 23 complete or fairly complete human bodies, as well as scattered bones from at least 11 other individuals, indicating that at least 34 people died at or near the end of the village occupation, the researchers wrote, noting that none of these bodies was formally buried, and at least 8 exhibit direct evidence of violent death. Most disturbing is evidence from Cowboy Wash, where 7 exhibited many signs of cannibalism, including defleshing, fragmentation of long bones to extract marrow, chopped, cut, and blackened bones. Chemical analysis of human waste found at the site tested positive for human myoglobin, proteins found only in human muscle tissue. This wasn't ritual cannibalism, but desperate starvation cannibalism as communities devoured each other to survive. As violence escalated, the Ancestral Puebloans made a dramatic architectural shift that reveals how dangerous their world had become. During this time of population increase, in the early 13th century, people began creating what are called cliff dwellings, which are houses, and in some cases, entire villages, built into cliff edges. These weren't scenic homes, they were fortresses. Every beam, stone, and drop of water had to be carried up sheer cliff faces using precarious handholds carved into rock. Built near springs, the naturally enclosed sites offered protection against both the elements and intruders. Many could only be accessed through narrow passages easily defended by just a few people. The defensive strategy was sophisticated. In the Cayenta Valley, which surrounded us, Haas and Creamer identified 10 major villages that were occupied after 1250 and linked by lines of sight. If one village came under attack, they could send smoke signals during the day or fire signals at night to alert allies on neighboring mesas. Within hours, warriors could converge from multiple directions. However pragmatic the ancients' motives, terror had somehow given birth to beauty. The Anasazi produced great works of art, villages such as Mesa Verde's Cliff Palace, hallucinatory petroglyph panels, some of the most beautiful pottery in the world, at the same time that its people were capable of cruelty and violence. These stunning cliff dwellings that take our breath away today were actually monuments to fear and desperation, yet even these defensive masterpieces couldn't save them. By the 1280s, even the most secure cliff dwellings were being abandoned. For decades, archaeologists believed the ancestral Puebloans had simply vanished without a trace, but breakthrough research using ancient turkey DNA has revealed the truth. Now, using DNA extracted from ancient turkeys, researchers say they have new insights into where these mysterious people went. The ancestral Puebloans were among the first North Americans to domesticate turkeys. The researchers compared the genetic material from Mesa Verde turkeys to turkeys found in the northern Rio Grande region before and after the ancestral Puebloans disappeared. Before 1280, the two turkey populations were unrelated in the maternal line, the team found. But afterward, the northern Rio Grande turkeys carried Mesa Verde haplogroups, clusters of genes inherited together as a group, indicating they were descended at least in part from the ancestral Puebloans stock. The ancestral Puebloans didn't vanish. They migrated southeast to the Rio Grande Valley of northern New Mexico. Now, based on Tewa oral history, researchers understand that Mesa Verde people simply moved farther east towards the Rio Grande region of northern New Mexico, where many of their descendants still live today. The modern Tewa Pueblo people have always known this. Their oral histories clearly describe a migration from the Four Corners region to their current territory. For generations, they've told anyone who would listen that they were descendants of the cliff dwellers. But archaeologists dismissed these accounts as myth. Evidence keeps mounting. Studies comparing skull shapes show striking similarities between ancient Mesa Verde inhabitants and modern Tewa people. Oral tradition says it took Tewa people 12 steps to travel from their ancestral home to their current one, which Ortman interprets as the 12 days it may have taken to walk from the Four Corners area to the northern Rio Grande. The migration wasn't chaotic. It was an organized transformation. Some of the pueblos that emerged after the Mesa Verde migration have been able to withstand 500 years of European colonization, says Ortman. One could say that those communities have weathered European colonization better than almost any other society in the world, certainly within the United States. The ancestral Puebloans didn't disappear. They transformed. When their world became uninhabitable, they didn't cling to failing systems. They moved, adapted, and rebuilt something stronger. Their descendants still dance in plazas that echo Mesa Verde's design and tell stories passed down through generations about the long journey from the cliff dwellings to the Rio Grande. If this incredible story of resilience and survival fascinated you, hit like and subscribe for more amazing tales of how ancient civilizations overcame impossible odds.